Hey everyone. Today I'm going to be doing something a little bit special to promote my new book, which just came out October 1st. This is Shades, the Demon and the Water. It is the second book in the Shades series, and I'm really excited. This one is a lot bigger than book one and just as intense. So today I'm going to be reading the prologue for book one, because I know there's plenty of people who haven't read it yet, and I don't want to give any spoilers for book two. So, here we go. It was the year 2012 when it happened. Technology had advanced so far that it took precedence over everything in people's lives. Machines did 96% of all labor. Unemployment rates were devastating, but the privileged didn't care. They never did. As scientists had been predicting for decades, pollution reached a critical level. Perpetual smog clouds enshrouded whole cities with poison, while metropolises stacked on top of each other like bricks. Radiation spikes from corporation-owned factories had the capability to reach planet Mars, and that was on a good day. But certain types of radiation even had the ability to rewrite organisms' genetic composition. Many regarded it as the termination of modern life. They called it code virus. Cryptid, obstinate, degenerative evolution was its official designation. Though publicly promoted as a disease, it was a mutation caused by exposure to technological radiation. And it was a technology that, unfortunately, everyone owned. It spread from machine to man like a pandemic, and there was no foreseeable cure. After all, what was life without technology? Who could convince humankind to rid itself of the addictive thing that caused its ailments? History had proven countless times that nobody could. Those exposed to the code virus began to display significant abnormalities, the first of which being eyes that flared white light at heightened points of emotion. These victims were nicknamed Purities for the pure white flare they inherited. The internet exploded with videos and propaganda. Persecution and prejudice were imminent but short-lived. Months elapsed in chaos, but all the rioting in the world couldn't change it. The virus claimed its hold over the entirety of the human population. Life, it seemed, was moving on. The unexpected side effects crept in soon after. The first and most obvious was a seemingly disconnected economic shutdown. People were only eating half the amount of food necessary to live. But this was not some radical international weight loss scheme or mutually agreed market protest. It had to be more. The world's top minds went to work trying to explain this new development, and what they found was one of the greatest evolutionary leaps in the history of planet Earth. Within human beings, an entirely new organ had developed. A brilliant concentration of pure, raw energy, exuded by the code virus, of course, that could take many complex forms. This new organ could transform itself into any nutrients, gases, and elements necessary for survival. It could enhance the healing process, provide quick bursts of stamina, and absorb toxins. And its lifespan was practically infinite. Poetically, this organ was designated the soul. Weeks of frantic observation yielded the discovery of the dragon plague. Animals had been exposed to technology almost as much as human beings, but were not genetically compatible with the code virus. Consequently, they began to mutate into draconic, second-generation beings. They grew wings of mottled color and horns of deadly strength. The birds were first, sprouting reptilian tails and spines, and as time passed, people began to wonder about their own fates. It was the birds, they said. The birds are always an omen. Rabbits grew unnaturally long legs and horned ears. Bears, lions, wolves, and other large predators were equipped with ridged horns and the occasional snort of flame. Reptiles spat fire. Insects' primal songs became ethereal choirs. Horses transformed into the majestic, web-winged beast with blue-horned snouts, and they alone took a new title, equidrakes. Whales and similar aquatic species did battle against ships with new horns like titanium battering rams. Fish scales hardened and became impenetrable to blades. Not that anyone would risk having a limb sliced open by their newfound spikes and toxic spines. And scientists dreaded to think what had become of the creatures drowning in the unexplored deep of the ocean. These draconics, as they were dubbed, created a further storm of internet phenomena. But this was not the end. On the day that humanity speculated to be Earth's end, December 21st in the year 2012, code virus spread its powerful fingers deeper still into human lives. Consequently, society suffered an international death. This was the apocalyptic event the Maya had foreseen. At midnight, the dawn of the new era, every human being felt their soul convulse. The next morning, 7% of the world's population woke up changed. That 7% developed superhuman abilities. They could command the elements, transform into animals both real and fabled, communicate with forces unnatural, and even influence the minds of others to do terrible things. Their eyes and flares changed color to complement their abilities. These individuals were known as shades. Shades became the new scapegoat of media. They were widely rejected, painted as criminals and killers. How quick society was to turn a name into a symbol. And of course, such violence was not true of most victims of code virus, as with all groups, but they were cast out as a whole because of the outliers who delved into the increased ease of crime afforded by their new abilities. Months passed, steeped in heated conflict, and universal forces declared it legal to shoot and kill any shade deemed even remotely suspicious. Murder and suicide rates rocketed, and human morale hit a historic low. Shades, and if you can believe it, even a small number of purities, rebelled fiercely against their oppression. Following further months of unrelenting attacks on international government facilities, a new form of dictation arose to combat these rebel groups, which were known as the Shodaki. An emergency conference was held with every major world leader and government official in attendance. Over the 3-week duration of this conference, the planet was erased of its nation's boundary lines and divided into regions with entirely unique names, effectively force-feeding the English language to billions. The Purities had built their castles, and then they named their kings. The Overseers, the ultimate patriarchs, were given dominion over these regions. It was the Overseers' duty to maintain peace and tranquility within each city's bounds, and to detain each and every shade that dared to merge. And yes, it was learned that more Purities were converting, albeit involuntarily, into shades. It was obvious that the Overseers would not long keep their hold on shades, not possessing any supernatural powers of their own. So, in one last desperate attempt to even out the population and stop the resurgence of new abominations, some unknown force set off an electromagnetic wave that permanently destroyed all electronic devices. Television was gone, communications utterly frozen. Artificial light became non-existent. And a few days later, all of it simply disappeared. Overnight, every home was ripped out of the very ground that it situated. Everything that could not have existed before around the 16th or 17th century was vanished from the surface of the earth. People awoke inside the pits left behind by their homes' absence. Those who lived on boats or beach houses drowned in their sleep. Those in the Arctic and Antarctic regions of the world froze to death. Countless people were eaten by draconic animals. Many fell from irredeemable heights. Those who were deathly ill and in need of medication slowly faded away or suffered from heart failure. The only sanctuary during this time was the knowledge that shades would cease to manifest without technology present to continue the spread of code virus. But it was a false hope. To the astonishment of the world, shades were still materializing right on their doorstep. It was theorized by some that the Zvakos Overseer, the Supreme, had scientifically isolated the code virus and was somehow using its power to target individuals with technological poison. Others believed that the Overseers were devising a plan to become higher draconic beings themselves, though few of these theories were ever allowed to become anything more than myths, because any ideas considered blasphemed or treasonous were silenced through swift force. Decades ambled by. Life eased into a new pattern, and humanity thought itself normalized. The Second Great Shodaki Rebellion came and went, losing the Overseers some of their popularity but none of their power. And after 100 years, no one dared to question the order of life. No one besides the Shodaki, who persevered through all trials to rain down destruction on innocent purities. For centuries, it seems that the Overseers had managed world domination. No one could ever have predicted that one day, shades would make a final stand against the Overseers. Only this time, they might just win. And there we have it. So, you can buy Shades, the Dragon, and the Fire and The Demon and the Water on Amazon as both an ebook and paperback. And I hope you guys do, and I hope you enjoy. If you do read, please don't forget to leave me a review. Reviews are how we make our money, more than anything, more than sales anyway. So, yeah, see you around.